I hope you're really well. I can't believe I'm doing this video. I'm not a baker, I'm not a cook, but I do like making a Christmas cake. And until my friend Julia and Tonya told me that basically you don't have Christmas cake in the US, so I thought I'll show you. Hopefully it'll go well and it won't go wrong. I've done this recipe twice before. The first time it was beautiful, but I decided I'd booze it up a bit. And I put extra booze in the cake as I fed it, which is a technique which means basically you put lots of little holes in the cake once it's made, and you just put a teaspoon of your liqueur over the top, and you do it several times, and it makes the cake last till the following year if you want. It sort of, it anaesthetises the mix. Is that a good way of saying it? Yeah, it sterilises it, anaesthetises it, and it lasts. So yeah, so I did too much of that, too much feeding, and oh my word, it was horrendous. You know when there's just so much booze in your cake, and no, it wasn't nice. So I'll show you what I've done so far. So I've done a bit of preparation. Oh, and if you want to know the recipe, it's a Mary Berry recipe. She's a much loved chef from, I'm guessing it was the 60s. So yeah, and she's recently done the Bake Off. She's no longer doing that, but it's one of her recipes. So I'm just adapting it a bit, as we all do as we go along. But down in the description box, if you open it up, there'll be a link to the website where I got the recipe, and I got it off the BBC, and it's Mary Berry's Christmas cake. So you can see all the quantities and all the directions, because basically this is the second time I've recorded the intro, because I got to the bit with the ingredients and realised I've missed off the almonds. I thought they were for decoration. Don't ask. So let's have a look what I've done so far. So this is all the ingredients I've bought. So you're in my kitchen now. So I've actually cheated and I bought white icing ready rolled. I'm not the best at rolling things out. I bought it all from Asda because that's where I'm getting my online shopping. And unfortunately, they didn't have the ready rolled out marzipan, but I know Sainsbury's do because I normally get it from Sainsbury's. So this is for the decoration of the cake, and so is the apricot jam, because you actually use this to stick the marzipan to the cake, and then you stick the icing to the marzipan using your apricot jam. So that is really your glue. So the ingredients, I've got some unsalted butter that's meant to be at room temperature. I've just bought it, so it's a bit hard, but I might just put that in the Kenwood mixer to soften it. I did have one, I bought it last week, but last night for tea, we hadn't got any butter in the house, so Phil used it, the one I'd had for weeks apparently, that I only had this Thursday in my delivery. But so yeah, I've been out and got another one, so it is a bit solid. So I'm gonna have to melt that, and this is a quartz surface, so yeah. Yeah, definitely. Some mixed ground spice, because that gives it its flavour and its yeah, its fruitiness, I suppose. I always use, whatever recipe they ask for, they always say large eggs, but I always get the extra large eggs because I think more fluid in the cake, it just makes it lighter. Some black treacle, because that will give it its richness and its stickiness. So I bought one of those. This is what I forgot. I thought this was actually for decoration, and it's not. It's part of the ingredients, so I've been and got that. Plain flour. I only got a small one because that's all we need, and I don't keep flour in, and I always put it in a bag because, yeah, you can't be too careful with flour, can you? And then some dark muscovado sugar, and it's a very rich sugar because this is going to be a very rich fruit cake. Now you say, where's all the fruit, Karen? Well, the fruit's been swimming. It has, it's been swimming. Now, normally in your cake, you would use sherry or brandy, but this is Karen's boozy cake. So in Karen's boozy cake, we have got rum. So the recipe called for 150 millilitres of alcohol. And when I put it on my fruit, it didn't go very far. So I might have given it an extra drink. So yeah, if we gag when we eat it, not when we drink it. Oh, well, I hope we don't drink the cake. So yeah, so in here the recipe wanted currants, raisins and sultanas. Now I don't like currants because I'm sure they've got stones in them. I'm not sure, a little seed, but I don't like currants. So I just bought raisins, the seedless raisins, and I bought sultanas because I like the juiciness. So I've just got seedless raisins and sultanas in here, and glacé cherries, and the recipe asks you to halve them, but I've quartered them. I swirled them, quartered them, so they're all in there, and they've been sat in there for 2 days, and I've been turning it, so I've got boozy fruit. So that's my fruit. It also asked for what else have I missed out of the recipe? It also wanted zest of an orange, I think it was, and I've not put that in, but you'll see what I've not put in and what's in the recipe. So let's get everything ready and start measuring out. What I forgot, that's the actual rum I use. I use a dark rum. This is my favourite drink, dark rum, Captain Morgan. I don't buy the spice, I just buy the traditional rum, and that's what I've actually done my fruit in. Yeah, I'm partial to that with a Diet Coke, some ice and a slice of lime. But we won't go there because we're baking, not consuming. So let's get everything ready. Right, let's first put all the ingredients into the Kenwood. I'm going to put the butter in first because it's meant to be room temperature, and this isn't room temperature, and it's 250 grams, which check the recipe, Karen. Yeah, 250 grams of softened butter. So it isn't. So I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to soften it. And the reason I've got gloves on is because I think when you have your nails done, it's nice to just put gloves on because you don't want your fingers in the food. But I don't. That's how I rock and roll. So let's put those in there and then we'll switch the blender on. Right, so we want 250 grams of light or dark muscovado sugar, I suppose I better do it slowly because I might make cream. Right, let's and on my Kenwood I've got the K beater on because it's saying beat, but this butter's still really hard. It needs to be soft. So glorious, such a rich sugar. There you go, 250 grams. Put that in a bag so it cooks nicely. Okay. Almonds. We have 75 grams of almonds. Getting softer. Good. We're getting there. bit of heat. We'll blend it. Start putting everything in here now. Nice. But what I'm going to do is I've always creamed the butter and the sugar together because I just think it makes it a lighter consistency. So that's what we're going to do with this. So I'm going to cream that first of all before I start adding the other bits in. What a glorious, glorious, rich smell. Wow! Wow, the smell is delicious. Butter and sugar, my favourite things. Okay, so I'm going to start adding the other bits in, but I'm not going to turn it on until it tells me to. So we've now got the almonds in there. What else do I need to weigh out? So it's got measure the butter, sugar, eggs and treacle into a very large bowl and beat well, preferably with an electric freestanding mixer. So we now need the treacle, and how much treacle does it want? It wants 1 tablespoon of black treacle. So just 1 tablespoon of black treacle. Oh, it's so rich and dark. It's so sad because I only ever use it. I mean, look at it, it's glorious. But 1 tablespoon of treacle. And it's just to help emulsify it all together. That's a big word, isn't it, for a non-chef person, emulsify. And obviously it brings extra sweetness, so I wouldn't overdo it because you've got all the sweetness from your fruit as well. And as you saw, mine was a very heaped spoon and it was twisted anyway, so no need for any more. I've got the child gate on across the kitchen so that the dogs can't get in. Can you hear them moaning? They so want to get in here to this treacle. Can you smell the treacle? You see, they've got 12 times the sense of smell that we have. Something like that, isn't it? So, hate doing eggs. So, 2 bowls, 1 knife, 2 spoons, some gloves. Keep getting sticky with all of the treacle and the sugar, so I keep putting new gloves on. Right, so there. My eggs. You know when you go in your eggs for a recipe and you bought 6 but there's only 5 there because Phil pinched an egg and didn't tell me. It's a good job I only need 4. Honestly. Right. That was a nice one, I think. I hate Do you hate the little cord in the eggs? I always take it out. Always take it out, I hate it. So, one egg in. I always do them separate in case there's a problem with the eggs. Okay, that one looks okay. Got a bit of shell in this one, I was a bit heavy-handed. Do you do this? Do you get the cord out? There we go. One. You just want one more now. That one. And so let's tidy up. I'm one of those that tidies up as I go along, but you, I hate it being in a mess. And I have. Got my gloves again, because we'll get to the messy bit in a minute, aren't we? I think it takes me so long to cook because I actually tidy up as I go. I'm one of those ones that hates a mess. It's like plain flour. I always think sieving the flour just makes it that bit lighter. If you get rid of any of the crumbs. Nearly there. There we go, that's this. So one and a half teaspoon of mixed spice. Oh. About that, I think that's about right, isn't it? Round there. Right, so then, and then it's all the smell of that, all the cinnamon, right. So it says, add the flour and ground spice mix and mix thoroughly until blended. So what I am going to do is I am going to add a bit at a time. Put them in the sink. So let's bring this away. So just a bit at a time. So do anything curdling or smell is amazing. The smell is truly amazing. Right. Let's get all the bits down the side. Make sure everything gets mixed in and we don't miss anything. rest in actually. So I've only got a big bowl. And if anyone's wondering, all the white crockery I've got is actually Jamie Oliver. And when we moved into this house 17 years ago, it was all brand new. It was a new range and it's still going strong. So what cost £500 has lasted really well. So we're looking more like a batter. Just one last wipe down the sides. I really want to make sure none of this flour or anything's wasted. Look at this. Oh, this is lovely. Okay. Then it says stir in the soaked fruit, spoon into the cake, prepared cake tin and level the surface. So we've now got to add in all of our soaked fruit, which is this. That's the hard bit. How easy is this? And of course, if you've got any dogs, make sure they're not around while you're doing this, because obviously raisins are poisonous. Because grapes are, so raisins and sultanas. And currants, right, so let's mix that in. Oh, do you want to have a look? It's very lush looking. I keep picking up my tripod one-handed. So Christmas cake really is just a boozy fruit cake, and other than Christmas, I don't make it, that's for sure. And I've only made 2 in my lifetime. 3. This will be the 3rd one. So 2 before today. See, oh, the last bits of the rum in the bottom there. Oh, look at that stickiness. Oh. Sorry, I get really excited. Not excited by the washing up, but... Make sure it's all blended in. Done. Right, okay. So the temperature for your oven is, she says, looking for it, 140 degrees centigrade, 120 degrees centigrade fan, which is what I am, or gas mark 1. So, we've done all that. We're now going to put it into the prepared cake tins, so let's get those. So I'm just greasing the bottom of my tray. I put it in, and then I've just cut out some grease-proof paper. I'm going to put it in the bottom. They want it double lined because it's such a wet cake, and so I'm putting butter in between as well so that it all sticks together. Okay, so we've got that one. So now we've got to do the sides, and this is a bit more of a trickier task. So what I'm going to do with the sides, I'll get some more butter and put it all across the sides, because that's our glue holding it together. That's some butter there. And then I'm going to put butter in between the sheets so that it glues that together. So I'm going to do a tail of 2 halves, I think. That's all now glued together. And then that will go in there, because this, in case it gets too high, I'm going to cut some of this down because that's too high. But you can see how that's working. So let's get my scissors, because that is too high. to make sure it holds in any excess. So this is just a bit too high there. There we go. And then the other side, which is this one. Again, butter in between to hold this together. Because once it's in there and it's glue, it's great, isn't it? But once, because your cake mixture will be pushing it to the edge, but till then you want it to all glue together. So this is a great thing about having gloves on, because I can just put my hands on the butter and it doesn't matter, because it's all hygienic even though it's my hand. So again, in the side. It's looking pretty good. Just trim that down. I can take these off now. Yay! These are all buttery. And what I'm going to actually do is a bit of this in the bottom, where the sides are just taking it up. Put that in the bottom, because I don't want any of this to leak. Make sure it's going up both sides. And up that side. There we have it. So now all we've got to do is put our cake mixture in the easy bit. So more gloves. I think I've got through about 10 pairs of gloves. I should just wash them under the sink, shouldn't I? It'd just be a lot easier. And I'm hoping that will all go in there, because otherwise I need to make another cake. Another tin, which I do have a smaller tin, so we could do that as well. So this is a messy bit, isn't it? But the satisfying bit of the gloop, gloop, gloop sound of it going into the tin. Get my bowl out. Okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, you could put lemon zest, orange zest. I didn't put any zest in. I'm not a zesty person. And I hate it when I have cakes that got zest in, so you do what's right for you, don't you? I played with this recipe slightly, but not enough to make a difference. It just smells of Christmas. It's just, oh, it's gorgeous. Right, so, and it does fit in one cake tin, so I'm thrilled. Thrilled. Push it down to the sides. Honestly, the smell of Christmas coming from this is, and I'm not really a Christmas cake sort of a girl, but I just love it. I don't like marzipan, I don't like icing, but you put it on because it's tradition, but I don't like them. Oh, the smell of this. So if you haven't got a round tin, a 9-inch round tin as the recipe calls for, this is an 8-inch square tin, and it's got the removable bottom. So yeah, I think we're about done. If I hadn't got gloves on, I wouldn't want to do that, would I? Yay! Yay for gloves! Right, and it says bake in the centre of a preheated oven for about 4 to 4.5 hours. So let's have a look at this, and then we'll have another look when I take it out of the oven. Look at that. Oh, honestly, if only there was something called smelly vision. Oh, look, it's no longer in the bowl. It's no longer in the oven. It took 4 hours. It said 4 to 4.5 hours. And it said after 2 hours, check. And if it was a nice colour, a nice golden brown, to put some tin foil on. And I always put the non-shiny side up because that doesn't... Try again. The shiny side can sometimes interfere with your cookie and affect the element. Don't know if you know that. So always put the non-shiny side up. So I actually doubled it. So the non-shiny side was also on the cake. And look at it. So I've tried it and it's firm to touch, and I put what's it called, spatula inside, and made sure it came out clean. It has, and it hasn't burnt. I know it looks dark at the corner, but that's just the lighting. It really isn't. And the smell is absolutely amazing. The treacle, and yeah, really nice. So now I've got to let it cool in the tin. So I'm putting the cover back on. Then I've got to poke it with holes and get a tablespoon of rum and just feed it. So just drizzle it over and feed it. Now I've got to keep it in the greaseproof paper, but I'm going to put some more greaseproof paper, and I'm going to put some tin foil round it so I can eventually take it out of the tin, if you like. Actually, I don't need to. I can keep it in the tin, can't I? As it's going to cool in the tin, I can just leave it in there while I'm feeding it, and then eventually I'll let it out. But the reason you keep it in the greaseproof paper is so it stays moist. But yeah, it smells lovely. So there we are. Good morning. It is morning time, and this is my cake. I've got up, I'm in my dressing gown, so I'm not going to show you that look, but I fed the dogs, and now it's time to feed the cake. So I let it cool last night in the tin as per the instruction, but before I went to bed I did take it out of the tin because I'd put the butter in between the greaseproof paper to hold it together. It had got quite a bit of butter coming through, so I wanted to get rid of that off the cake so it wasn't a greasy cake. So I removed all of the parchment or baking paper and the tin foil, and I just wrapped it in new. So I've then left it here overnight. So it's all in here, it's all nice and cold. And there we go, so it's all in here and it's all cold. But the whole point is you want to wrap it back up in some parchment paper or baking paper, whatever you want to call it, because it keeps the cake moist. Now that looks ever so burnt, but it isn't burnt at all. Oh my word, the smell that's coming off it. Don't forget, we put the very dark muscovado sugar in and the black treacle, so it's going to make it a very dark, dense cake. And as I was taking it off, as you can see, there's little crumbs coming off here. And I popped some in Phil's mouth, and he said, "That's just cruel, that is." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because it's gorgeous and I want some more." Now, he doesn't think I need to put any more booze in it, but I am. But when you put your alcohol in it, because we're going to feed the cake now, just less is more. My second year I put that much in, I was like, oh, I like this. It was awful. It was like drinking raw alcohol. So I think I'm only going to do this twice because the fruit was soaking in a lot of rum. And don't forget, you can use whatever alcohol you're partial to. So I could have used what is it, Jack Daniels. I could have used whiskey. Normally it's brandy or sherry, but I use Captain Morgan's rum because that's a drink we both like, and so we'll both eat the cake. So let's set this up so you can see how we're going to feed this cake. And no, it doesn't need a bib. Right, let's do this. Okay, so we've got the cake. So first of all, what you want is you want to skewer something you can prod the cake with. And all we're going to do is put a series of holes into the cake, because that is how you're going to feed it. The alcohol is going to go into these holes. So, yeah. Yeah, it's quite a laborious little job, this. And don't worry about it falling apart when you cut it, because don't forget, it's a really heavy, very dense cake. It's got all that fruit in. And this just helps it so that the alcohol can soak into and all the way down the cake. The smell is, it's amazing. And I'm going to put this video up later today so that anyone who wants to make this, you've still got time to do it. So if you want one for this Christmas, you've still got time. The decorating bit, I'll put up, oh, trying to prod a raisin there. The decorating bit is just something you can do afterwards, and that's just being your creative selves. But the actual cake making you need to get on with if that is something you want to do yourself. But you want to have a go? But I couldn't believe it. My friend said to me, what is a Christmas cake? So yeah, it's like a very heavy fruit cake. Tipsy fruit cake, and then we'll ice it and we'll put marzipan on and we'll put icing. Now the icing, it isn't a traditional icing that you might associate with on the top of a cupcake. It's an icing which is a bit like in consistency if you put two tortillas together, that sort of depth and that sort of movement, but it's just icing. So that's what we'll do after. So got my spoon, got my bottle of rum. So I'm only using my little tripod this morning. I haven't got my big one in the kitchen again like yesterday. So let's see if we can do this. And all you're going to do is literally pour some into your spoon. Like so. And just drizzle it on your cake. Just like so. Don't forget you want to get it in all the corners, because the corners are always the driest bit of the cake, aren't they? Because they're the corners that tend to dry out. So I think that'll be enough for today. And it's all just absorbing. Oh, this rum has just run down my fingers. But I think it's even a bit too early to lick them. I'm sure it's 5 o'clock somewhere. But as you can see, it's all soaked into the cake. So now all you've got to do is wrap it back up again, leave it a couple of days. You don't need to prod it every time, and just give it another drink. So I'm going to do it one more time, and then next week I'm going to ice it because I don't want it too alcoholic this time. So let's wrap it all back up. Oh, got the lid. And I'm just leaving it here on the baking tray in the kitchen because it's all wrapped up, so it's all nice and hygienic. Normally I'd put it in the dining room on the table, but obviously that's my YouTube studio, so I won't be doing that. And out of the way. So that's it. So I'll link the recipe down below. Don't forget, you've got to open up the description box to find it. All the ingredients are there. If you're going to swap any of the fruit out, just make sure you've got the same weight. So I took the currants out, but I made sure that the weight of the currants I split between the raisins and the sultanas. Yeah. Get happily baking, and if you do make one, let me know. And I want to see photos on Instagram, because Instagram's exactly the same as my YouTube account, and I want to see some photos, and I want to know if you like a very British but tipsy Christmas cake. See you in the next video, everyone, and good luck. Let's get baking. Bye for now. Bye.